All right, good afternoon, guys. I'm going to go over the final exam review, which will cover chapters 7, 8, 10, and 11. I'm going to emphasize from the lecture slides that I have previously forwarded you. I have gone through those slides and I have highlighted the slides in which I believe you need to be most concerned about for the final exam. The final exam will be approximately 40 questions, 41 questions, same format as the midterm, multiple choice, true, false, and then a couple of fill in the blank. And I've set it up in an Adobe Acrobat type PDF, so when I submit it to you in an email the morning of the exam, for those of you taking the exam on May the 11th, this coming Monday, it's from 8 to 10:30 in the morning. I will mass email the PDF exam right at 8 a.m. and I will expect everybody to submit your answers back to me by 10:30 unless there's an exception. Nonetheless, let me move forward with Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is the courts and legal professions. I want you to understand some of the concepts of the court, of a court. What are courts? Understand the definition of a court. What function do courts serve in a society? What is a court's role within political framework of a nation? And those things are all going to be listed within the lecture slides I provided you as well. Who are the parties in a lawsuit? So everything that I have highlighted is not highlighted on your slides, but you need to be aware that I've gone back through and these are the things you need to be aware of for the exam. Everything in red and those details that are related to those things in red. Who are the parties to a lawsuit? You have plaintiffs and you have defendants or respondents, and understand their correlation. Who is a plaintiff and who's a respondent or defendant? Who are the actors in the legal profession? We have adjudicators, advocates, legal advisors, and legal scholars. Adjudicators are often referred to as judges, and there's some description there of adjudicators. Advocates are kind of similar to, in reference to, prosecution and defense. These are the parties that are represented in a dispute. Legal advisors, often referred to as experts. And then finally, legal scholars or professors. These are the participants in the legal system. Don't worry about the career paths of legal professionals. We're not going to go into bureaucratically oriented systems versus politically oriented systems. Courts and legal professions in our model countries. I want you to understand some of this detail on this page or this slide. These are the 4 court types or levels that are commonplace throughout the world. Know those 4. We're not going to go into all the details within each of the model countries, so we're not going to worry about the legal profession in courts in England, France, Germany, Japan, China, or Saudi Arabia. Okay, that's going to be Chapter 7. Now I'm going to jump over to Chapter 8. All right, Chapter 8 is after conviction, it's the sentencing process. Some of the learning objectives, let's not worry so much about that. Let's jump right to what is highlighted in red, which is going to be what's the purpose of criminal sanctions? You have retribution, rehabilitation, deterrence, incapacitation, and restoration. You need to know those 5. And then these 5 general theories on criminal sanctions are more detailed here out. So retribution, what does that mean? Rehabilitation, often includes the term probation. Know what rehabilitation is. Deterrence. And then incapacitation. And finally, restoration. Understand these theories. General concepts. Understand that for centuries, deterrence and retribution were the emphasis, especially across Europe. In the United States, we utilize rehabilitation as a predominant philosophy on punishment, with retribution and incapacitation as a close second and third approach to sanctions, criminal sanctions. We're not going to go into other sentencing practices specifically there. Now, purposes of criminal sanctions in the model countries and the U.S. The table on page 193 has a good table on that, but nonetheless, I want you to know some of the takeaways. All model countries and the United States utilize rehabilitation as a sanction. The United States is the only country which utilizes all 5 methodologies of criminal sanctions. So all 5 that we just previously talked about right here: restoration, incapacitation, deterrence, rehabilitation, and retribution. All 5 are utilized in some way, shape, or form in the United States. Okay. Moving on, we're not going to deal with non-custodial sanctions until we talk about probation here in the next. There we go. Community supervision. Probation is a criminal sanction given in lieu of imprisonment, etc. Understand what the definition of probation is and what that concept is in general. Okay, that's all of chapter 8. Moving on to chapter 10.